Hello, and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person, and today I want to talk to you about Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Particularly, I guess, just to be pretty particular, I have the Gold Edition of the Xbox One version playing on my Xbox Series X. So basically, there's like one piece of DLC that comes with this, and it plays a demo on the title screen, apparently. Uh, So I don't know if that's going to change a whole lot about this or not, but just keep that in mind. It is this version. I've also talked about Call of Duty games before, so I'm assuming you kind of know a bit about the Call of Duty games and stuff. I don't want to go too far into like the basics, but I'll try not to spoil too much here. I will probably just show you the campaign for the footage, and so you get a feel for that. But we'll kind of go through these, and there's a written review in the description probably if you want to check that out before or after or instead of this one. So let's jump into Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which is actually the first game Call of Duty game made by Sledgehammer Games, who I guess helped with Modern Warfare 3. They got their own game here with Advanced Warfare, so let's do it. So for the campaign, this is really where you're going to see a lot of the probably the changes and things going on here. Where right away this is set kind of far in the future here in like the 2050s, 60s, something like that. And I guess again I can't say too much about the plot, but essentially it kind of gets to the catalyst goes where you're out and you're doing this, you're fighting this futuristic stuff. We have these like you're in a battle, you get injured, your friend dies, you get offered this job by Kevin Spacey to be a part of his crazy program of his private military that is not owned by a government. It's just anybody can give them money to be their army for them is the idea. And that's kind of really what the revolves around, the whole story revolves around. That company, that guy, I guess elephant in the room, Kevin Spacey's in it. I'm not here to pass judgment on things that have happened with Kevin Spacey. I'm here to look at him as a character and a performance in the game. So, I mean, if you have problems with that, I guess you'll do with that what you will, but I'm not really here to litigate that. And then your main character, essentially, is kind of like part of like this guinea pig program. Like, he loses his arm, so like he makes a new arm for you. Like robotic arm thing to have another chance or whatever, and that's kind of the main thing. And more stuff obviously happens and develops as you're doing battles for other people and things go on there. So I can't say much rather than I don't want to spoil things, but it moves along basically like that. Missions still are pretty linear in a lot of classic Call of Duty fashion. But there are some changes here. The biggest thing is with exosuits. You basically are these things that you can wear. They're like kind of like robotic like armor type stuff you can have on you that give you special abilities. Things like being able to do like a boosted jump. You can do boost to dodge to the sides or backwards. You can slow your descent. It also gives you some stuff like a cloaking device. There's like a grapple hook thing, and there's like a deployable shield. There's like a number of different things that these can do for you. So there's that going on. That's the main thing, is to really like changing the way that you move and some of the other stuff you can do. Even like the heads up display is actually now like just shown like on your weapon or whatever. There's like a holographic thing or whatever that just shows like almost Dead Space style to kind of give you an indication of like how much battery your suit has and your ammo count, your grenades and stuff. Another new thing are with your grenades. You still have like lethals and tacticals, but each one is like cyclable. So you hold the button and hit X to like cycle through to different types rather than having to pick up different types as you're going along. So there's like smart grenades that will like kind of home in on targets after you throw them, along with like regular like frags and contact grenades. There's threat grenades that will like highlight enemies around whatever in the area that you threw it. There are EMP grenades to shut down electronics around you when they hit them. So like there's a few different kinds of and also like still like a flash grenade as well. There's that. So Those are a thing you can cycle through as a new mechanic. Um, and of course, being in the future, there's futuristic stuff. There's more futuristic style like weapons. Some of them are more like energy based weapons rather than being like standard bullets and things. They have this new thing was like a target enhancer attachment that actually will again highlight enemies that are in like your crosshairs while you're aiming at them. It'll like highlight them to make them easier for you to see, and some like other a few things like that are thrown in there as well. Um, but aside from these things, it does still play fairly linearly throughout these levels and missions. And actually, as you're playing, you actually are working towards these goals. Basically, there's four things that are like these running totals that you have during these missions, which are kills, headshot kills, grenade kills, and intel, which is just the little laptop things you find around hidden in the levels. And essentially, at certain benchmarks of those, you'll get these upgrade points, which you will actually have the ability to spend those between rounds, whatever, between levels. There's a screen where you can go and look at this and like upgrade different abilities on your suit. So you can like reload faster. You can take more damage. You can have extra grenades. There's just multiple different things you can like upgrade there as you go along. So there's that added in there as well for like a path to upgrade. And essentially, it's playing through the story. Campaign itself is lots of missions where there's a mix of things. They actually have some like they have some stuff where it's like some stealth points in here, like some missions where you do have to be quiet and kind of sneak, like sneaking around with a cloaking device. There's one where you're sneaking around, you can like take out enemies with silenced weapons or like use like this grapple hook that you get. Not only for traversing around the level quickly and silently, but also for like dragging people into the bushes. You could kill them that way. And there's like there's parts where you're like piloting vehicles and doing that. There's those sections are in here as well. There's things like getting like different gadgets or like magnetic gloves to like climb around as well. And there are these like big mech suits you find. People can like walk around in and stuff because like you're not only using this tech and like piloting things or whatever. Other people also have this tech and things that are like good at going against your tech. So there's a lot of like stuff with that, but most of the game is still largely going around and doing the boots on the ground cover shooting stuff like you normally would in a Call of Duty, and there's still a lot of that. So there's just other things are kind of sprinkled throughout to keep things kind of a little bit more variety, and ultimately you're trying to get to the end of the story that I can't say anything about because I don't want to spoil anything as it develops. That's the hardest thing about plots is that I can't really talk about them without them being a gigantic spoiler. There are also basically 3 other modes here to talk about, though. There, of course, is multiplayer, which I will admit it's not like I could play a lot of it right now because it's not super populated at this point. But a lot of it is standard fare, but there are some neat things here. Some modes kind of make an appearance here, I believe. Like, there's stuff like, this uplink mode of, like, bringing, like, a ball to, like, this target or whatever, which... again, like when you're like doing this stuff, or whatever, like works with the new movement systems and things, or whatever. There's that. There's, let's see if I can see some of these other ones. Some of these things are like in other games later too, so I get kind of lost because I didn't go strictly in order. But there's like Uplink is one, and like there's a lot of standard modes. I think there's like a gun game. They added this one in here as well. They have some like bonus modes. Some things are locked behind playlists, I will say. So like certain modes you really can't play unless you play under those playlists, I guess. But like depending on where you're selecting from, there are different types of things you can do. You can do some competitive type stuff. You can make private matches with bots. So there's still like a number of things you can do, and as well as like a lot of also standard play. There's even a mode for classic mosh pit where it's basically like playing a number of modes you're used to in Call of Duty without the extra movement stuff with the exosuits. That's the if you want to still have the experience that's an option. The main things I think are going to be notably different on top of the movement and the special abilities those exosuits can give you. which are going to be the most noticeable changes in that, as having these blowers. So now everyone can do these things at all times, or whatever. Obviously changes the way the game plays naturally. But also there's some changes, like they now have a system for like basically setting up your classes. There's like now a pick 13 system, kind of like a take on the pick 10, but here's 13. There's more things involved, so like your kill streaks are also involved in your picking 13 things. It's all between like your weapons, your perks. There's like wild cards in here, lethals, tacticals, attachments, and score streaks. Are they score streaks or kill streaks? I think they're score streaks, yes. And they I get that confused sometimes. And between all of those, you're gonna have a total of like 13 things selected, is the idea. So that basically makes its way over to here. And for weapon unlocks, they've gone with the system of a more traditional system of, you have to get a certain number of kills, or do certain things with your weapons, complete those challenges to get those unlocks for the weapon. They've gone back to that thing for each individual weapon. And there's some like cosmetic things you can do and whatever, and there's like loot box type things that you can like deal with there for your cosmetics, and they sometimes give you boosts and stuff. So there's some element of pay to win in there, and weapon variants and stuff. But I haven't really experienced too much of it because I didn't pay any extra money. I didn't like mess around with that too much. So it is not something that's like pushed on you very heavily, I guess, at least. So I didn't really do a whole lot with it. Oh, and they also do have the ability to have, for bots, they give you the mixed option for difficulty, so you don't have to have them all be the same difficulty for playing with bots. Most modes are available to play with bots, even if you can't play them online, so there is that as well. Another mode here is Exo Survival. And Exo Survival is kind of like, the same like wave-based survival thing of fighting increasingly difficult and varying waves of enemies, which include, ground soldiers, people in mech suits. They include drones flying around, and dogs coming at you, and mixtures of all these things. Other objectives like defusing bombs, or like moving uplink data around, like things like that also happen. There's other objectives as you're going as well. Here the main thing is, like, as you're going through these waves, when you first start off, you pick a class, which determines how strong and mobile your exosuit is, and also gives you access to different weapons. You can only use certain types of weapons depending on your suit, and you can get certain kinds of kill streak upgrade things, or score streak reward things that will regenerate over time as you're playing. That's determined by the suit that you pick in the beginning. You have more access to things like more attachments and upgrades, and upgrades for your suits, different weapons, and different abilities and things are available as you get further and further rounds in. You get upgrade points between each wave, and you can use those to buy all the different things. There's only 2 things to go through now. So there's like one about your exosuit, and mostly about your person. And then there's the weapon box that's about your weapons, whatever, the weapons terminal. So those are the 2 things. There's a number of maps on those as well. To play successive maps, you do have to play enough times on the first tier of maps to go to like the next tier of maps, etc. And then the one other piece I want to talk about here, which is more specific to the Gold Edition, because the Gold Edition includes this Havoc DLC pack. But this is where you get the first map for Exo Zombies. And I think all of the versions of this game now, I think you can only get the Gold Edition anymore, like, if you buy it digitally anyways. So you pretty much have to get this if you're going to get the game anymore in a digital form. So Exo Zombies is, like you'd expect, it's zombies, but with exosuit stuff. So basically, it does the same kind of thing where they're coming in and they're fighting you and stuff. But the way that it's different is that you're the setting obviously is more futuristic setting, and those weapons and things from this game, but you have those different movement things with those exosuits. You don't start with them. You still have to go through, and like you're turning power on, you're buying weapons off of like the walls and stuff, you're buying through doors to continue moving on as you're killing zombies. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you can actually get an exosuit, and you get your exosuit, and then you'll have that as you're running around, and you'll have the abilities of that. There's like different kinds of zombies fighting you. Some of the zombies actually have their own exosuits. They actually chase you down that way as well. There are also some zombies now that are infected. So if they hit you, you get like you'll get infected, and you'll have like a timer. If you wait too long for that timer, then you'll become infected. I guess I haven't worn out the timer doing it, but I believe all that happens is that you basically will die when that happens. If you get downed while you're infected, as far as I can tell, it means also that if you're downed while infected, you can't be revived. You just are automatically out, and you have to wait till the next round. So you have to get to a decontamination station and spend points to decontaminate yourself so you're no longer infected. And there's also a new thing where if you go down and you actually end up bleeding out, the next round, if you can get back to where your body was in time, there's a little thing that's floating there, and if you get there before that disappears, you'll actually pick up the stuff that you dropped when you were dead. So there is some ability to redeem yourself a bit there and keep going. But these are like new characters. I don't think they fit into any storyline of the broader zombies stuff. If you're looking for that, it doesn't seem to be related to that really at all. Other than there's zombies, and again, it plays pretty similarly to what you expect out of zombies with this new movement system and the new stuff that's in this game. So it's more or less what you'd expect. As far as like the plus sides for this game, I gotta say there's quite a lot. I think this is a very, very good like selection of content here. Everything here is pretty good. The campaign was actually a lot of fun. It was a very good length of campaign. I thought the visuals were good and that they were clear, and also like I kind of like the way they have these like kind of like colorful neon light displays on things, even though a lot of the stuff around you is kind of like dark. I thought that just looks pretty nice. The core gameplay is obviously very snappy, very, very good. It's the kind of stuff you want out of, especially from this era, whatever, of Call of Duty. Like it's harkening back to like Modern Warfare trilogy of like it's that like good. It feels very, very good. I think that the exosuit stuff is neat. It adds an interesting wrinkle to things. In terms of like, giving you more variety of what you're able to do in some of these levels because you have it. Especially like, the whole stealth sneaking around thing with like the grapple hook not only being a tool for traversing it, but also for taking out enemies from like a distance in the bushes was like really cool. I think they did a good job of like, keeping the pace going, keeping it fun, but not like there's not too many distractions from like this the boots on the ground, have fun, like kill enemies thing or whatever. I think they do a very good job with that, where it still seems very focused on the shootout still, and it's absolutely appreciated because that's mainly what you want to do in these games as well. The other stuff is there to kind of keep it sort of interesting and whatnot, but it's not like it doesn't do too much to really distract you from that. And also a more simplistic plot here. That I think there's some good performances. Kevin Spacey is great as this character. He does a very good job in this, very good performance, and I think it's cool that they have like, again, this is very focused, like you're following this main character the whole time and following a story, and it doesn't feel like there's a whole bunch of other stuff at play and a bunch of weird things, whatever. It's a lot easier to follow than other Call of Duty games, which is good. I mean, obviously, when you're playing like a World War II game, it's like, well, the plot is World War II, but like, you know what I mean, like they're like, it feels like they're following this interesting new story they're doing or whatever. I think they follow that well. Also, there's a really cool thing. I like how they have like the dudes that are in mech suits, and they first show them. You're like, I don't know how to feel about these. They're kind of spooky, and then like you have them like, like eventually like they're like helping you. And then there's a point like you're fighting against dudes in those suits, and eventually you actually get to use the suits. Like I like how that kind of like played out over time across the game. That was a really cool thing, the way they did that. The upgrade points are really cool. I think that's a great way to incentivize you to look for the different things, or whatever the intel, and try to get certain kinds of kills and stuff, and it just gives you a sense of like feel like you're accomplishing something rather than just like waiting for enemies to like be dead and done so you can move to the next section. It feels like you're like racking something up and like doing something with it. I think that's good. So overall, yes, I think the campaign was like very good. I was surprised at how good it was, especially since I know a lot of people were kind of down on the campaign. That surprised me. Multiplayer's good. It's not much to say there. Multiplayer is always good. I like the options with bots and stuff as well, where when you can't play, I think there's a good selection of modes. Having the mode where you can do it without the exo movement seems silly, especially in retrospect, when you can play other Call of Duty games to get that experience. But if they wanted this to be like the be-all place to play, I think it was a good option. It was at least nice of them to offer that. And it's, again, some solid modes. Just generally, it's just, again, very fun to play. The extra movement does make it pretty chaotic at times, but it makes it so it's more interesting, and it adds a layer to it, so I don't feel like I'm just, like running into hallways, or like, it's probably going to make it a bit harder for campers. and the like to kind of like deal with that. But you do have to adjust to it and how that works, and that does add a layer of verticality and a bit more franticness to the what you're doing. So it definitely gives you some identity to that, really to the whole game, but to the multiplayer as well. The survival thing is probably my favorite iteration of their like just regular survival stuff so far. I mean, I've only played like a few of those, I guess, but it was very, very fun because it was simple enough. I like that it wasn't like, oh, here's like a bunch of different things to go do between the rounds and a bunch of different things you could possibly get here and tons of things to buy, and then it's just enemies everywhere and it feels like a chaotic mess where I feel like I never have enough time to do anything and figure anything out. Here I kind of felt like it was pretty simplistic. You can only get these guns, so grab these guns because your class thing, you get these things, you're limited to what you can do, you're working together with people, you have more ability to try different things. Like I want these attachments, like I'm going to play as this class and my friends are going to play as this class, and I think playing with friends could be a hell of a lot of fun. But even just playing with strangers, it was really fun time to play that thing. I had way too much fun with that. I never did very particularly well at all, but I had a lot of fun with it. I think that's like the thing. Is like it was simple, easy to understand, difficult to really for me to do very good at because I'm not very good, but I still had a lot of fun, and that's probably the most important part about that. Exo Zombies is one where I think this is maybe not that impressive. It's not like the best zombies or anything, but it's not the worst zombies out there. It's still good. Again, they took basically what was good about zombies already, and they just put the exosuits and the future stuff on it, and they went with it, and it ended up being better than the being better than the fucking extraction from Ghosts. It was, even though it's not doing anything as novel as that, it's just more fun. And again, that's kind of what's important here. It was I mean, I wouldn't like I probably wouldn't pick it over some other offerings of zombies, but I think particularly I like the ability to at least kind of feel like I can escape more as well. They really gave up on the idea of boarding anything up. It is a very mobile game now. You're moving around a lot, so being able to jump up and like boost away from enemies or jump up and boost over them and stuff is like, I think it's very like, it definitely adds a big layer of like, okay, I can escape. This is escapable. I don't want to be not only do I not want to be in like hallways that are like claustrophobic that way, but I don't want to be anywhere where there's low ceilings where I can't get away either. And like, I think it definitely worked out pretty well for a very fun and kind of like frantic, especially if you're someone who likes to run around and move a lot in zombies. I think you'll actually like what this offers you as well. Even if I only played the one map because I only had that one DLC that came with this. Downsides. For the game, though, I think the campaign did kind of fail to really show off all the things that your suit's good for. It's like a quick, like, your suit can do a couple things, but like you never really have to use them more than like the few times they tell you to use them. Even some of the times they tell you to use them, you don't even have to. It's just like it would be helpful to at some spots. So like they don't like necessarily push it as far as they could have with the suitabilities and the freedom to use that and everything. They probably could have done a bit more with that. I also think that like some of the vehicle sections feel a little bit like, I'm not a big fan of them. Maybe some people like them, but I didn't like. I didn't think they were necessarily all that bad, but they definitely felt like gimmicky one-off. Like, use a vehicle for a little bit and then you're done. And then there's like, I don't know. Like, I think it's mostly those things, really, the campaign. Otherwise, the campaign was pretty good. Other than that, and the fact that I guess it does feel a little bit like, okay, almost all the times I found those pieces of intel were pretty much like between something else happening, which I guess is good, but it also felt like, as soon as like events kind of stopped, then I would look around and be like, okay, there's got to be something hiding out somewhere over here, because why else would events stop? They usually don't stop unless there's, giving me a chance to find a computer out here somewhere. I don't know, stuff like that. But overall, it was still pretty good. I didn't have too many complaints for the campaign stuff. Oh, and the gloves. The magnetic gloves were silly. Even the cloaking device was a little silly. It was an interesting effect, but you rarely use it. You use it for like one mission. So anything that you kind of use very sparingly or just for a very scripted section feels very like gimmicky and doesn't feel like they didn't finish baking that thought. They just kind of threw it in there to have it in there. Then for the multiplayer, obviously the biggest thing is that there's not that many people on playing anymore, so you can play Team Deathmatch, and that's probably about it. I mean, it's cool to play with bots and all that, but even if you could play, there's some modes, like I say, that online, as far as that goes, you almost have to start a private match because some of these things are just not available Either they're only available in certain playlists, you have to get lucky in the rotation if you can get people to play those, or they're just like you have to play with bots. And I think there's a couple modes that I noticed you just can't really play at all. Like they're only in multiplayer, or like they don't let you do it in like your local play to set up with bots and stuff. So like there is some stuff kind of like missing a bit from there. Nothing too major. I also don't really care for the pick 13 system either. Just with like the score streaks and other stuff, and like the way that you also have to unlock all of your stuff by using your weapons. I like the idea still, but it is easier to just unlock stuff as you level up, because then if I have to spend all this time to use this weapon to get this attachment to even see if I still like using this weapon enough to keep doing other stuff, at some point it feels like, I don't know, I kind of want to just give this weapon a test drive to see if I really want to use this, and if I use it with nothing attached to it, sometimes it's hard to tell if I even like it that much, because, well, I need to have like a sight on it, or I need to have like, maybe I need an extended mag or something. I don't know. It definitely feels harder to like use stuff now, because of the way that works. So there's kind of a give and take. You can't really escape there. But yeah, definitely with stuff like wild cards, like just having everything, it takes a while to level up, to unlock stuff, and to do things. And especially for people who are paying money to get the better cosmetics that will help them level up faster or give them other boosts, or people who have been playing a lot longer just are going to have more stuff than you. It's one of those where like either people can pay to win, or they can just have to suffer through being a newcomer for a long time until they can get some of the clearly best stuff in the game, because some stuff is just going to be better than other stuff. They didn't perfect the balance. So there's that on top of like being less skilled by being new. There's that whole issue that goes on there. That's kind of here too. I mean, you can try to do the skill based matchmaking stuff, but again, with not enough people online, you can't really do that, or like ranked play or whatever that stuff. So there's not even much point really mentioning most of that anyways. You're going to be playing team deathmatch, or you're going to be playing with bots, or if you have a group of friends, I guess that's about your options, to do this. Survival, I think my only gripe with survival is that like some of the early rounds kind of feel like the same thing over and over, but that's like to be expected with anything where you start like that. And I think as far as zombies goes, Exo Zombies is like, I think the main issue with that is mostly just like so much that is behind DLC. For anybody who got the game before it was the gold edition, you don't have Exo Zombies, and that's a bummer because it's a good game. It's a fun mode. But if you want even more maps and things, you have to keep buying the DLC to get all of the things for that. So it does kind of suck in that sense, where it's like if you're getting it now, it's fine because it'll be attached to it. But if not, you have to get that separate. And if you want more, you have to get all of them. There's not really like a quick, there's no like completeness to it, or no like it's just there kind of thing. So there's that to consider. Even still, I think that Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is very good. It's maybe not, in my top list of Call of Duty games, but it's up there. It's very good. It's one of the better ones for sure. The idea that like basically all of these things, like it just fires on all cylinders. All of the modes are good. They're all very good, and I think that like it's kind of crazy to me that some people are like shitting on this game when I'm like, I don't see what's wrong with any of this really. All of it actually is pretty good. It's very fun, and maybe people had different expectations for this or something. Maybe they just didn't want to. Maybe they just retroactively don't like Kevin Spacey, or that Call of Duty kept going to the future for stuff like this for a while. I don't know. Maybe it's more of a retroactive thing. I don't know. But I think that what's here is very good. It's a very good package. If you're getting the gold edition especially, I think everything that you're getting here is good. And especially with the idea of having bots in there and stuff, there's a lot to play even now, even if it is just an offline or nobody else is playing thing. And that's awesome. That's great. So I definitely would recommend this generally to Call of Duty fans. If you want to have a good Call of Duty experience, especially one with its own identity, I think this does a great job of all of it, the campaign, the multiplayer, the survival, and the zombies all feel like they have the shared identity of Advanced Warfare, and they all feel like they belong to the same game, and that's something you don't really see in all of these games either. I think that's very good. The only things I would say for, again, if to avoid it would be more so if you don't really, if you want more classic zombies, I guess, like this is similar to that, but if you just don't like the movement thing, or just movement in general, don't get any of this game. If you don't like the idea of like the booster things, because you kind of need to use it, at least for, you don't really need it for most of the campaign, but you probably should use it. If you don't like that, yeah, if you want more of a classic zombies experience or something that's more of the setting of that, and that's what setting's a big thing too for if you'd rather have like, um, if you're somebody who wants more of a historical kind of Call of Duty experience or a more realistic Call of Duty experience, obviously this one is not going to appeal to you. It is something different. They're trying to push the series forward with it, so I can respect that. But that's not for everybody, and I understand that too. And of course, multiplayer. If you want to play Call of Duty multiplayer, you don't really want to go to a game that's pretty much dead, right? Again, so those are probably the normal things you'd expect, but otherwise pretty good. And I think Sledgehammer Games did a damn good job with their first outing of just this is our game. It was really good. But what do you guys think of Advanced Warfare? I definitely would like to hear people who don't like it, why you don't like it. That would be interesting to hear because I feel like I've heard some people mention they don't like the campaign and stuff or whatever, or parts of it, but then they don't really explain. But I think everybody seems to like Exo Zombies too, so I don't know. Like hearing some back and forth, hearing what you guys think about this would be interesting to me. And actually, interestingly for me now, I'm also going to be playing next Infinite Warfare. That's next on the docket, and a lot of people have been saying how that's like better than Advanced Warfare. It's like what they tried to do here, but even better. Which, if that's the case, that's going to be awesome. However, I've also heard some people say that it's garbage. So I'm pretty curious to see where I land on it. Again, I'm probably leaning towards I'll probably like it because I'm like as you probably noticed with all of these Call of Duty reviews, I'm pretty soft on Call of Duty, so it's probably going to be fine. But that's all I got to say. That's my 2 cents. Whatever. What do you guys think? I've been Sam. I've been a real person. Comments, do the stuff. See you in the future again. Later.